There we are. Are we live? I know it's red. Oh, fiddlesticks every time. Is it? Are we live?
Yes.
Oh, well, you didn't say something. You didn't say
Because you
something.
answered your own question.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Yes, once again, I've messed up. I think I need to click on me as well. Do I need to click on?
You're fine.
Oh, I'm
No,
fine.
You're fine.
Then, all right then. So, good morning, everyone. I hope some of you hopped over from our Facebook, because we do healing every morning, every Thursday morning. We have our healing session. We say our prayer for hands around the world, everyone joining in for our healing session on Thursday mornings, just before YouTube. So if you want to know more about that, go take a look on Facebook and see if you can find me on Facebook doing my thing on Facebook. If you need healing, by the way, just go on the Facebook page and just write your name in there, and just, it doesn't have to be full name. You can say anything you like. You can tell me you're Fred, and it won't matter, because even though I might not know that you're not Fred, somebody up there knows you're not Fred. So and just say what it is, what issue you have, or why you would like healing, and we'll send healing to you. Right. So this morning, I'd like to talk a little bit, because we've had two situations this week, and actually yesterday and today and this morning. We've had two situations about mediumship, and so I'd like to talk a little bit about the mediumship and vulnerability. So I think we'll start, actually, Carolyn, with that question that we had an email this morning with a question from
Margreta.
From Margreta. I think we might have spoken to Margreta a couple of times before. So we had this email from her. Now, also, I had a consult this week with a lady who was talking about a medium that she had been to see. She was lovely, actually. She was very sweet. She said that the medium had confirmed to her what she believed, that her daughter was that her daughter was the reincarnation of her sister. I think that's right. Unfortunately, I had the sister looking at me saying, no. But anyway, well, fortunately, actually, it was fortunate. But the lady that I was speaking to with the consult was actually pretty much taking the blame. Well, it was my fault, she said, that the medium said that was right, because I put the idea into his head. So I said no, because if you try to put that idea into my head, if somebody were to call me up for a consultation and to start telling me what they thought, the way they thought things were, I'm going to be looking to the spirit world, and they'll tell me whether that person's right or not right. And so whether or not someone might, before they come for a consult, they might think one way. By the time we're finished and talking to the spirit world and talking to those who they know and who they love, and having information from the source, they'll know whether what they're thinking is right or not right. So then on top of that, yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, on top of that, and then this email this morning, I thought we should address this just a little bit. Because when people come to see someone like myself, they come for a variety of reasons. Some people come because they're concerned about what's going on with them in the present, and they want to know about the future. Some people come because they just need spiritual guidance and spiritual advice. Maybe they'd like to become a healer, or maybe they want to become a medium or something, whatever, or they want to grow in a certain way spiritually. So they're coming for advice in how to do that. There are the people who come because they've lost someone who they're very close to. Now, that's what I'm about. So for whatever reason you come to see me, not other mediums, I'm only talking about me at the moment. Whatever reason you come to see me, it's pretty much a guarantee that someone in the spirit world is going to be popping in there as well to talk to you and to say hello to you. And even if it might not be anyone in your family, it's certainly going to be Grey Eagle. So anyway, so coming to see a medium, coming to see someone like me, is, you come for various reasons, but most people, the majority of people who come see somebody like me, they come because they are vulnerable. They are either in a bad marriage, in a bad relationship, then in a bad work situation. They need help and advice on the next step. They've lost someone very close to them. They're having trouble with grief and so on and so forth, and on it goes. But when you come to search someone out like myself, you are inevitably very vulnerable. And also many people are, because of that vulnerability, very, very susceptible to what a medium is going to say to you. And it's so easy to believe someone. Just because someone says I'm a medium doesn't make it so. Just because someone says I'm a heart surgeon doesn't make it so. You have to be very, very discerning. It occurs to me, I've sort of got so very quickly onto the subject that I actually forgot to say good morning to everybody. So can I just say, first of all, good morning to Grey Eagle, who is standing next to me. To my far right, good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning.
Sorry, I just got so carried away with this stuff. And of course, we have Al with us. Al, can you hear us, darling?
I can. Good morning.
We had a little bit of difficulty last week, but it seems okay this week. So good morning to you. I'm sorry, everybody. I got so enthused by the subject that I forgot to say good morning. And of course, you probably might be able to see the sofa or me bobbing up and down from time to time. Well, it's not really me bobbing up and down. It's Kachuro bobbing up and down because so we can say good morning to him. This flea-bitten little dog that I have sitting on the sofa with me. Not that he's flea-bitten anymore, but he did have 1 or 2 fleas the other day. I had to give him some good medication, and they're all dead now. the joys of being an owner of an animal, of a pet. All right, let's go back to this vulnerability issue, can we? And first of all, I'd like to begin with this particular email, and it's from Margareta, and Margareta has actually spoken to us before live, I do believe.
Yeah, she's asked.
Okay, so let's go with that first question.
Last week, I had a consult with my recently passed loved one. The medium said he was a strong presence.
I just want to make it clear, not with me.
Right, not with
She
you.
did not have a consult with me. She had a consult with another medium. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, just be clear.
The medium said he was a strong presence 3 days prior, but when we
her
met,
husband was a strong presence.
yes, or her partner.
Yeah.
But when we met, her and the medium, he told the medium he was uneasy to meet
The
with
husband
me. Yes.
told the medium. So let's just, sorry to be picky here, Margareta's
Partner
told the medium
that he was uneasy.
that he was uneasy to talk to Margareta, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Her partner, according to the medium, also said that Margareta's despair keeps him near him, and he's trying to repair his soul of his wrongdoings on his journey to transition. My reaction was hurt and alienation. I told the medium I would leave him alone. She said no, that I should pray for his soul. I could not do it because my heart was not in that place. This set me back light years. Am I selfish, or shall I be a hypocrite?
So just to do this again, Margareta went to this medium. The medium, according to Margareta, spoke to the partner, communicated with the partner, who told the medium, she basically, she's not letting me get on with my life. She's not letting me deal with my own issues.
Yes.
She's, in other words, back off, lady. Right?
Yes.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if Margareta's here with us this morning. I've no idea if she's listening, but I can absolutely 100% say, no, that's not true at all. Now, it is true that we can sometimes, in our grief and in our vulnerability, we can be a little bit cloying. And if we're asking, where are you, every 5 minutes of the day, that can get cloying and so on and so forth. But actually, I think that I have very briefly spoken to Margareta's partner, And according to what Gregor is telling me today, also, I'm going to say I disagree completely with the medium that you went to see. How about that? I'm not going to say she's wrong, and I'm certainly not going to say that she's a fake. I wouldn't say any of those things, but I am going to tell you I don't agree with what she's saying to you. I think it's, if only there was just a phrase that we could use that wasn't rude to describe when you hear poppycock. Yeah, I think you've been told a whole bunch of poppycock there. How about that? I think that those in the spirit world do want us to be close to them, and I would like to know, here's the thing about going to see a medium. You're vulnerable, you're sensitive, it's difficult. The very, very, very first thing you should be looking for the medium to give to you is evidence that they know what it is they're talking about, that they are truly talking to the ones that you want to connect with in the spirit world. And the only way that you can do that is to, you don't go to see a medium and tell them all of your life history so that they can feed it back to you. You don't do that. And certainly in my case, I know that there are people who try to do it all the time, because it just, there you are, and it's, you're the medium, and they just want to tell you everything. They just want to offload onto you because their pain is so hard to bear. They want to share it with someone, so they offload on you. And what I do, what any good medium should do, is to say, stop. You can't talk to me. Let me do my thing first. If you, as I'm talking to those in the spirit world, if you understand what it is they're saying to you, say yes to me. Don't give me a whole load of information. I don't want it. Say yes to me. If I'm telling you things that I'm saying are from the medium that aren't correct, say no to me. Just say, no, I don't understand. So you're either going to say to the medium, say yes to me, say yes, that's right, that's correct, or no, that is not right, I don't understand that. And this is the first thing I tell my clients. You say yes if you understand me. You say no if you do not understand me. And I don't allow people to start doing, that thing, because then how do you know if what they've told you, if what the medium has told you is real or not real? How do you know that? If a medium says something like, your husband tells me that you've just built a small fountain in your garden, and you have, but 10 minutes before you told the medium all about it, how do you know? How do you know if it's what the medium says is real, or how do you know if the medium has just picked up on what you just said? So you have to be, when you go to see a medium, as vulnerable as you are, and we all are when we go to see somebody like me, as vulnerable as you are, you have to be discerning. And I have had people come to me so distressed, as Margreta has come to us today and sent this email. And the fact that she's been put back, as her comment was, light years, is so painful to me. And can you imagine, Margareta, if you're listening, how painful that is to your partner? He would never do that to you. He would never do that to you. You don't ever go back to see that medium. What you should have done was said, no, that's not right, because you should have known him better. So, sort of apply common sense. Your partner, he would have never done that. He would have never said, there's too much going on, leave me alone. He would have never said that. So apply common sense, keep your feet on the ground, and as vulnerable as you are, be skeptical of the medium. Just because, look, I can honestly claim that I'm a world famous medium. We all know that. Everybody who knows me knows that. You guys on TV who watch this show, you all know that. What does that actually mean? It means I've traveled all over the world. Does it mean that I'm real? No. Does it mean that I can be real for you, or that what I say to you now is, set in stone? It's the word of God. No. I'm a first and foremost, before I am a world famous medium, I am human. And in my humanness and in my human frailties, I am more than capable of making mistakes. And the last thing I want to do when I'm talking to someone and connecting with the spirit world is to make those mistakes. So I have to be very skeptical when I'm talking to those in the spirit world. And I also have to be very firm about people not telling me what I don't want to know. Once we've done all of that and we've established that those in the spirit world can see you, and we've established that the information that they're giving to you is accurate, then we can have a conversation. Then I'm willing to listen to anything you want to say to me. But let's establish first and foremost that the medium is real, really, really real. It's heartbreaking to me. It's so heartbreaking to me because I hear these stories all the time. And the only way that we can stop this, and the only way that we can stop these people who really talking out of the top of their head, they don't know what they're talking about actually, but they do sound good after all. But but then they're not necessarily real. They can do so much harm. They can do so much damage. And it's a little pet hate of mine. I get so incensed and I see it all the time. Al, do you have any comments on this? I'm going to get off this because I want us to be on a lighter theme here. Do you have any comments there at all? Oh, you're scratching, baby.
Just you mentioned the mistake piece, that there's that human element to it. And, I think sometimes you see people that, at least my impression, that may be kind of connected to their sixth sense and to that universal energy. So it's almost like dangerous because they're connected and are kind of grabbing at information and spewing out that information irresponsibly. But it may not, and something may be 100% accurate. And that's where people kind of get grabbed, right? If it's describe your grandmother perfectly, then everything else a lot of people will assume is accurate. Like I've actually fallen a victim to seeing, mediums here, or throughout the years. If something is accurate, we want and we hope that they're really connecting, and they may be on some level, but that doesn't mean that all information that follows is accurate.
I think you made a good point there, because I think there's a huge difference between someone like myself who is actually in communication one-on-one with those in the spirit world, who listens carefully, I'm lucky I have Grey Eagle. So if I get something wrong, if I don't hear correctly, Grey Eagle says, no, that's not right, Rosemary, you misunderstood that. So I have those in the spirit world. I have Grey Eagle to guide me and to help me. So if I do make a mistake, Grey Eagle's able to help me to correct that mistake. But there are people out there, Alan, you're quite right, who they so desperately want to do this. And why, I don't know, because the responsibility is huge. But they so want to do this, or they get so into the idea that they can do this as well. But they are what I would call sensitive. They sense, they see, they're aware of some things, but it doesn't mean that they're having a one-on-one connection with people in the spirit world. They just have a sense of something, or they sense something around them. And that sensing something can be really accurate. My daughter, she's phenomenal. She can take a look at a person, she can tell you what they're like, whether you should trust them or not trust them, so on and so forth. Her senses are incredible. And when she tunes into those senses and that sensitivity, she's amazing. And if she were then to take it the next step and then say, and I can see your grandmother, or I can see this person or that person, and she's telling me this, that, and the other, she'd be lying through her teeth, because she can do so much, but she can't, nor would she ever lie and say that she could see or sense more than she actually could. So it's not necessarily a question of the medium, or I'm using the term loosely now, it's not necessarily a question of the medium trying to fool you. I think there are some really good people who are just fooling themselves more than they're fooling anybody else. They're so into it, and they so believe that they can do this, and they get carried away with what is real for them and what isn't real for them. Carolyn, you sit here sort of not quite day after day, but very often in a day, and you've seen how I work, right?
Yes.
So very briefly, because would like to answer some other questions. So briefly, what would you say, people, if you were to give advice to someone when they're going to see a medium, what would you say would be, having watched me work and the way that I work, what is the thing that stands out for you that you think that people should watch for to know whether something is real or not real, a person's real or not real?
How much time that person allows the client to talk. You shut people up.
All the time.
Yes, like they come in the door, hi, it's nice to meet you. If they start talking about stuff, you say, oh, let's just get started. And that to me is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't allow that opportunity.
Well, the reason I don't allow people to talk is this. When you come to see me, I want you to be in no doubt whatsoever when you leave the door, when because we do a lot of this on Skype and FaceTime as well. When you leave me, I want you to be in no doubt that what I've told you is what I've got from the spirit world, what I've heard from the spirit world, as opposed to what you might have told me inadvertently with your chattering. I want you to be in no doubt whatsoever. I want you to go away and say there is no other way that she could have known this unless she was in fact talking to my dad or talking to my brother or whoever. So and so you've got the client, all of you out there, you've got to be the ones who are discerning, and all of you are listening who are mediums. Take a good look at yourself. Let's not fool you, because at the end of the day, when it's your turn to go, I've always said, I really, my biggest issue when I first started doing this was I don't want to fool anybody. However, the most important thing, above and beyond not wanting to fool anybody else, is I don't want to fool myself. I want to be absolutely sure that what I'm doing is real and that I can trust it. So I don't want to fool myself. So as much as all of you out there who have good hearts and are lovely and wanting to help and to care and so on and so forth, if you're a medium, please take a step back. I do it every day. I'm not telling you to do something I don't do. Take a step back and think about what you do and how you do it, and how much of a gift you actually have and how much of a gift you wish you had. And pay attention to the responsibility, because people can be damaged, greatly damaged by what a medium can say. Moving on to the next question, Al.
Oh, well, hold on. We have a special visitor today.
Oh, we do? Who's it?
Mitchell Coombs from Australia.
Good morning, Mitchell. Hi, darling. Where are you? Can we hear him?
No, we can't hear him, but he's chatting. He's telling
maybe we can invite you, Mitchell, and Mitchell, let me just tell you that Mitchell is a good friend of mine. He's in Australia. He is Australian, living in Australia, and he is a medium. We're talking about mediums, so I know that he's going to agree with everything I'm saying to him. So everything that I've said so far, and he's lovely. We keep saying that we're going to do something together. So maybe Mitchell, one day, I know time difference is weird, but one day we can actually get you on the sofa, so to speak. There's no reason why we can't do what we're doing with Al and invite you. If I invite you, Mitchell, will you come on, talk to us, be part of the show? That would be great. Well, so that's good. Does he have anything to say?
I agree with everything you've just shared.
See, I told you. Yeah. Wait, I must be psychic. I must be psychic. He's a darling, and I love him to pieces. All right, let's go for a question, can we?
Sure. Erin has a question related to what you were talking about.
Good morning, Erin.
She says, hello, Rosemary. Can the client's energy affect, she uses the term, the reading? For example, if the client is skeptical.
Yes and no. First of all, I never call them. We've had this conversation before. I never say it's a reading, because I don't read anybody. I don't do readings. I don't read anybody. What I do is I consult with the client and I consult with the people in the spirit world. So I call them consultations. So when you have a client come to see you, if that client is negative, and I think I told a story oh, wait a minute, I think I wrote it in the new book. There's a story about a client who came, she and her husband came, and they wanted to talk to their daughter. And I didn't know anything at all. They'd driven, taken a 4-hour drive to come to see me. And the first thing that happened was this lovely lady needed to go to the bathroom. She went into my guest bathroom and came out complaining to me that I had too many towels in the bathroom. I ain't got all those towels in there. You don't need all those towels in there. So I'm thinking, one of those. But that was all right. Unfortunately, though, and I saw her daughter. I'd actually seen her daughter before they even arrived. So I felt quite confident we were going to have a good consultation. I didn't bargain for the lady herself, who every time I opened my mouth to say something said, well, anybody could say that. Well, you could have just made that up. Well, how am I? And this went on 3 hours later. I gave them 3 hours. And the reason I gave them 3 hours, because her daughter, who was quite clearly there and quite clearly wanted to do this and was perfectly capable of doing this, was so desperate to get through to her parents, so desperate to get through to them. And but the mother was, I think she was so afraid of being talked into something that she didn't believe in, because one of the first things she said to me was, I just want you to know I don't believe in anything you do. Well, why are you here then? But I know why she was there, because they love their daughter and their daughter loves them, and the daughter was hoping desperately that the mother would stop being so ridiculously skeptical in this case, and at least just listen to what I'm saying, listen to what I'm telling you, and give it a chance. So yes, clients can affect, because at the end of the day, even though I was able to give them messages from their daughter, and this woman's husband, I think the father of the daughter, took pretty much everything I said on board. At the end of the 3 hours, I'd had enough, because there's only so much you can take when somebody says, well, how do I know? And why should I believe you? And so on and so forth. So I ended up sending them on their way and saying, look, I can't help you. So I didn't charge them. And it was the most amazing thing. As soon as I said, I'm not going to charge you for this consultation, the woman looked at me, and suddenly I was real. Suddenly, what do you mean you're not going to charge as well? I didn't give you what you wanted, so I'm not going to charge you. Yes, but we've been here for 3 hours. Yes, but I'm not going to charge you. It's called, what is it called? It's called doing the right thing, I think, isn't it? If I go to a store and I go to buy something and it's not what I want, I'm going to take it back and ask my money back. I would never charge. If someone was dissatisfied, I would never charge them. So even though, yes, they've taken up 3 hours of my time. And then she said to me, well, can we come back? Can we call you? Well, can we do this next week? Why? So I had to sometimes you just have to let it go. So yes, the client can in some ways affect, but is it that their negative energy will stop someone in the spirit world from coming through? No, I don't think so. People in the spirit world are always willing to come through. This is in my experience. Always willing to come through, always willing to try. Sometimes they try to come through, but their own emotions get the better of them. And so in those cases, I just say to someone, I always say to my clients anyway, if this doesn't work today, you have 2 choices. I'll give you your money back, or we'll do it again. But I won't charge for the second or the third or the fourth time, or however long it takes me to manage to connect with that person. So, what can I tell you? That they're my ethics. I try to be a very ethical person. I try to be, I try to do the right thing. And yes.
There have been instances where a client's had already 2 or 3 consultations with you and emails and asks for a 4th or a 5th. And you flat out say, no, because there's nothing more that, I can assist them with.
Well, it's not no, it's no for now.
Right.
It's, because you can come to see me. Initially, someone, especially if someone's lost a child, they might need 2 or 3 times, sort of over a period of 6 or 7 months or something like that. But then I try to limit. Anyway, I have to limit it because, because we have too many clients. So I have to limit it. But as we were talking about with Margareta, for me, I'd just be taking your money. I would be using your grief to line my pockets. And if I've told you enough and I've given you enough information, there's a point, after a certain point, there's a time when you need to stand on your own 2 feet. You need to be able to start to live your life in a positive way. You need to need me less. So this is why when I say to people sometimes, especially if I've spoken to them 3 or 4 times, you need to have a few months without me to build on what you've been told, to understand that your loved ones are in the spirit world and they are helping you, but you've got to start and stand on your own 2 feet a little bit now. I'm not going to be somebody's crutch is the reason why I say no. I think that's fair to say, right, Carolyn?
Oh, yes. And I'm just sitting here wondering how many people in your profession would have just said that.
Well, I hope. Well, anybody who's real will say that. That's all I'm saying to you. Anybody who's real will say that to you.
We've got Shanoya.
Good morning, Shanoya. What a nice name. Wow.
I dreamt my boyfriend yesterday and we were at a party. Then he left the party and he left a note saying he loves me and he's gone and he misses me. What does my dream mean?
Well, did she lose a boyfriend?
Yes.
So I'm just checking. Oh, wow. How wonderful then. Wow. Well, he's obviously, as we've talked about, our loved ones come to us in our dream state, because sometimes, when we're in our dream state, we're in that sort of half awake, half asleep sort of state. That's when, the connection with the spirit world does this, can do this. Whereas when we're awake, when we're conscious, there's so many other things going on that even if the spirit world are trying to connect with us, because we're busy, we're doing other things, this happens, we miss. But when we're in that relaxed state, our level of consciousness is automatically raised and lifted. Then, we're able to just literally come together like this. I think, oh gosh, what a fabulous, fabulous experience. You must be so excited. And obviously he loves you very much. So there you go. Next question, Al.
Yeah, I just actually had a follow-up question to what you were saying.
Yeah.
After people see you, they're kind of, you want them to be able to be on their own. And, that question on skepticism and does it affect the spirits coming to you, was no, the spirits come through anyway. But does that skepticism, or in the reverse, belief by someone kind of help or hinder the loved ones coming to them, like to a person that maybe, not really as sensitive or sensitive, but they're skeptical? Does that inhibit the spirits coming through to them?
No, because, if someone wants to come through from the spirit world and they're given an opportunity, whether or not, as I just explained with this lady, she was so skeptical that it made her blind to any and every possibility. I mean, when they came to see me, this couple, I didn't know that they'd lost a daughter, and I certainly didn't know that she died of cancer, and I certainly didn't know all the other stuff that she told us. And, even the woman's husband actually said to her on a few occasions, really got, just let her talk, let her say something, please listen to her. But the woman wouldn't listen to me. And I think a lot of the skepticism from people comes from fear. They're afraid because if you live your entire life, either not believing in God or not believing in the spirit world or not believing that we are souls, in this human form, if you spend all of your life believing in that, then if somebody can show you differently, what does that mean to you? It means that you might have to change your way of thinking. You might even have to change your way of life. You might have to start to be a nicer person. You might have to start to think about who you are and what you are. And there are many people on this earth who they don't want to think. They don't want someone to change their attitude. They don't want to know if they've been wrong all these years, or And it's not a question of being wrong either. They don't want to know that they're not being able to see as clearly as they might have seen. So, Carolyn, let's have a question.
Flo has a question.
Morning, Flo.
So what you're saying is there are people that can feel another person's aura / energy.
Yes.
And then there are people that can actually feel and hear / connect with the spirit.
Yes. Right. We're all born with some sensitivity, some of us more than others. I teach my first year students psychometry. Psychometry is when you take an object, and we take this ring, right? You take the ring, like this. You take a ring like this, and it's been on my finger. And psychometry is when you take an object, and I always tell my students, if you're going to do this, choose an object that somebody wears all the time. Well, what happens is, because we are energy, this ring absorbs my energy. So when I take it off, if I gave it to Carolyn, for instance, no, I won't give it to you. No, forget that. If I gave it to Al, for instance, because Al's done this with me, some people can actually literally tap in. They can literally connect with the energy of the ring. So they can say, oh yeah, they can tell you all sorts of things about yourself because they're tapping into the energy. That doesn't mean that they're talking to someone in the spirit world. It simply means that they're tapping into energy. And there are a lot of people who can do that. And the problem is that, you've just got to be really discerning. You've got to know when it is that somebody's tapping into somebody else's energy or the atmosphere. It doesn't make them a medium. And, years and years ago, there were fortune tellers, there were psychics, there were, who knows what people call them. All of a sudden in the last 2 decades, everybody wants to be a medium because that's the new thing to be. But no, a fortune teller is not a medium. A psychic is not a medium. People like fortune tellers and psychics are people who are able to see, to sense, to be aware of what is going around them. And sometimes they're able to see the future too, quite clearly. A medium is someone who connects one-on-one with someone in the spirit world. We have a conversation with someone in the spirit world. Karen, you've seen it all the time, right? Where somebody comes through and, something very weird apparently happens to me. I don't really see it myself, but people say that when I'm connecting with the spirit world, it's almost as if my eyes start to sink back in my head. I've got weird eyes anyway. So they say that people, see my eyes, and my friends who know me really well know that when I'm connecting with someone, they know when it's happening, because apparently, not that I've ever seen it myself, but apparently my eyes start to sink back a bit in my head, and I get this weird eye thing going on. But no, so just because people are able to sense, to feel, to be aware, to tap into energy, they, and that's remarkable. I think that's remarkable in itself that we're able to do that. But that does not mean that they're talking to somebody who has passed, somebody who, let's use the word dead to clarify this clearly. Just because someone is able to see, to sense, to be aware, or even can tell, or look at your aura. Some people look at auras, the energy field that's around you, and they just know instinctively what your aura means. And instinctively, they can tell whether you're feeling good or bad or upset or lonely or whatever. People can read into auras. It is not the same as talking one-on-one to a dead person who isn't really dead at all, just so you know. All right, let's have our next question.
So Isis says, I'm still experiencing grief from losing my beloved cousin Chula in 2007. Time has helped, of course. Am I holding her progress back in the spirit world?
No. Oh, that's Isis?
Correct.
Isis, I love you for asking that question, because it shows how much you care, and it shows what a lovely, caring person you are. But no, you're not holding anybody back. Please don't think that. And any of you, please don't think that. It's only when, if you're spending every day just focusing on your loved ones in the spirit world and asking them to talk to you, and you're focusing, all you do is focus on them, and you stop living your life because you're focusing so much on them, yeah, they're going to say to you after a while, enough. But if you're 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 times a day saying, hi, I love you, I hope you're okay, or you're just thinking about them, or you're sending them love, perfectly fine. And that's what they want, because they're doing the same to you. And your cousin is doing, you know this, Isis, your cousin is doing exactly the same to you, sending you lots of love. Carolyn, let's have a question.
All right.
Do we have a question from Mitchell, by the way, if he's still awake?
Mitchell did say he would love to be on the couch, and we're on the call.
Yay!
He said he'd love to join us virtually.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Maybe next week. Ha ha! I'll pin you down.
L says, I'm having difficulty learning to trust my significant other after we got back together. I couldn't trust him last time, but he seems to have changed. I'm just not sure how to tell.
Trust is a big thing, and sometimes you'll never get it back. If somebody has damaged your trust or abused the trust that you have of them, it's who is this lady?
L.
Now, sometimes it's possible you'll never get it back. Only time will tell. And you know, here's the thing. This is what I tell all married people, or all couples who, you know, maybe one has had an affair, or maybe somebody's, you know, done something that has, you know, destroyed the trust, or whatever it is. If you choose to take him back, you choose to you have to put your fears aside. Because if all you're going to do is obsess on whether or not you trust him, it's not going to work. And sooner or later, you know, he'll let you down. Whether he lets you down or whether, you know, you're expecting him to be perfect, you know, it's a difficult one. But if you know, and I'll say this to anybody out there who is in a relationship or has been in a relationship which has then broken up because of the issue of trust, if you choose, I'm thinking very good friends of mine, very, very close friends of mine, who the husband was a naughty boy, and the wife found out, and you know, and it was touch and go for a while as to whether or not they should stay together. They did decide to stay together, but then the wife, of course, was having all sorts of issues. Could she trust her husband again? If you take him back, which you obviously have done, if you take someone back, you have to lay that aside. Otherwise, you shouldn't have taken him back in the first place. Because if it's always going to come up in your mind, if you can't put it to one side and give it time and learn to trust again, and that will only take time. If you can't put aside the anger, or you can't put aside the mistrust, or you can't put aside this niggling feeling inside of you that he's going to do it all over again, or whatever that is, you should not be in that relationship. So my advice to you is, you've taken him back, put it aside and give it some time, and let time tell you, because it's only time will tell you whether or not you can trust him in the end. That would be my advice. Al.
Just Isis sent you 5 purple hearts in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Oh, they just hit me. As my darling boy would say when he blows me kisses, and he blows me kisses through the camera, and I say, oh, went in my eye. Oh, went in my nose. And when I send him kisses, he says, oh, went in my eyes, Rosie. So thank you. The purple hearts have gone right here. Thank you.
Deborah asks.
Good morning, Deborah.
My parents were married 65 years, and my mom is still unhappy. I haven't had signs from my dad. Her dad must have passed in a couple months. Is that because my mom lives with me now and is so unhappy?
This is Deborah from California.
Oh.
That you solved the family crisis for her last year. There was a family member that unbeknownst to
oh, yeah.
Remember?
Okay. So the question was,
She hasn't had signs from her dad in a couple months. Is that because her mom lives with her and is
no, it could, Derek, could be simply that your dad is doing other things. He's trying to move on a little bit. It could be that you don't need him quite as much as you did, which I think is probably the case. And don't worry, he's still with you. He's still there, and he pops in from time to time. It could be that you're getting on with your life, so you don't necessarily see him like you used to do, or feel him like you used to do. But no, I don't think it's got anything to do with your mom, whether your mom lives with you or not. It could be that because your mom is living with you, you feel either a little bit more secure, a little bit more settled, and perhaps your dad doesn't feel the need to, to let you know all the time that he's around you. But don't worry, he's there. And you'll see him. Don't worry, you will. Okay.
Dean has a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
That's okay.
Gosh, it's starting.
It's only me
Starting.
over here, so only me we're looking at.
Sorry. Carolyn, yes, go with a question.
Our favorite Dean
Good
says,
morning, darling Dean.
I have heard many, in quotes, well-known mediums on YouTube and TV, and always wonder how good they are when they keep asking the client questions like, did your mother like boats, etc.? Are they real or not? Is that just a personality difference with Rosemary, or maybe they aren't so good as they promote?
Well, I can't say for everybody, can I? I can't. It's a good question. You see, if I went to see let me put it this way. If I went to see someone and they said to me, did your mother like this, or did your father like this, and so on and so forth, I'd be saying no. I would be walking out. I would be getting up and walking out, because as the medium, I might say in that circumstance, using that same example, I might say, having connected with, let's say, the father, and having described the father and having talked about how the father passed and so on and so forth, I would then be saying something like, your father's talking to me about a boat. And I did, and funnily enough, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but I did have this happen to me, a client, and the client said, oh, no, my dad wasn't into boats at all. But the father was insisting, he's talking about a boat that was wrecked. It was sort of in some sort of a wreck, and it was wrecked in a storm and on the beach, sort of on the beach, and completely wrecked, and so on and so forth. And my client had no clue what I was talking about. Now, here's the difference. The father was saying, well, sorry, but I'm right. There is a boat and a wreck and so on and so forth. And at that particular moment in time, my client was actually with another member of the family, who then said, oh my, yeah, he's talking about such and that beach. And I'd already described the beach. I'd already described the little sort of area that they lived in and so on. And it turned out that this shipwreck was something like 15 years ago. And this little boat that the father loved was actually in a storm and completely wrecked and so on. So, different mediums have different ways of doing things and have different ways of approaching things. But I'm skeptical. So, and you all should be skeptical too, just so that we're clear. Everybody should be skeptical. So if somebody asked me that, I would be saying, well, why are you asking me? And then I'd want to hear what they were saying. And if, I would expect someone to say to me, well, why are you asking me if my father, likes boats? And then I would say, because he's talking about blah, 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 blah. And I would then go on to describe what he was telling me hopefully in some detail. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the detail.
We need to tell everybody, if you're interested in having a consultation with Rosemary.
Oh, yeah.
Please email the office.
Yeah. If you want to know more about consultations, if you want to know more about what we're up to, all of those things, email us rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com.
They're specifically asking how did they get it.
Oh, they are?
Yes,
oh, good.
Yes.
All that money I'm going to be making from now on. I'm laughing, really. If you want to consult, if you want to know more, if you want healing, which we actually don't charge for whatsoever, please email us if you want to know anything at all about us, about what we do, the books and so on and so forth, or the work that I do. Email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaLtea.com. I should say that every week, and I don't, because I'm not good at this. Al, do you have a question?
Pamela asks,
good morning, Pamela.
After my husband passed a few years back, I had a laptop that crashed, a lamp light bulb that flickered. I checked it out. The light bulb was okay. The lamp plugged in, all that. Have you experienced this?
Yay! All the time. I think it's wonderful when people, and Pamela, where it's coming from. So you notice how she's not asking, was this, this person that she lost, is it from him or her? Because she knows. And very often, it often happens with light bulbs. I don't know why. Maybe it's sort of energy and power and stuff like that. Yesterday, what was I doing? I was reading last night. And I got up to go to the bathroom. As I got up, I saw this massive flash in the kitchen. And I thought either a light bulb had gone off or lightning or something, because I'm skeptical. So I'm always going to look for the reason why, but no, there was nothing there, and I didn't see anyone either. But it's so nice when you sort of have that, hey, I'm here sort of thing, and it's like someone in the spirit world is just saying to you, not that they want anything particularly, but just to say hi. So I think that's wonderful, and I think I'm telling Pamela what she already knows.
A little add-on.
Who are you again?
Email.
Sorry, Carolyn, I keep having a blockage. Sorry.
Lisbeth is asking.
Good morning, Lisbeth.
Does she come to you, or do you do phone consultations? So I just want to let everybody know.
Either.
Well, it's not really phone. It's Skype or FaceTime.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I have done things on the phone, but I like to do FaceTime or Skype, and everybody pretty much has access to that. And the reason I like to do that is because when I'm on the phone, I'm either holding it or I'm sort of listening into it. And I think it's much better if you sort of got a one-on-one thing going on. And I think the client always feels much better when they can see my smiling face, and I can see theirs too. So one-on-one on Skype or on FaceTime. FaceTime, if you don't have Apple, I have an Apple iPhone. I'm going to there it is, see that? So FaceTime is brilliant. Skype is brilliant. Or if you're in the area, or people actually do fly in to see me one-on-one. They fly in actually from all over the world to see me one-on-one. So, you can, whichever you choose, and the price is the same, whether it's a personal one-on-one or whether we do a Skype. There's no difference in the price. You've got to pay me a fortune either way. Al, do we have a question?
Yeah, we have a sort of a multi-part question from Rochelle. So I'll do my best. I'm going to read it and do my best.
Good morning, Rochelle.
So personally, being born and raised in Africa, I experienced a lot of intense energy. I had an experience where I could clearly feel and hear the emotions of someone who, from what I understood, was a soul of someone who is in the process of human trafficking. He said this, of human trafficking. Human trafficking. This broke me because I am not developed enough to actually pinpoint the exact location. I could tell a region, but not the house. What is my role when things this traumatic from another soul in this realm pass through me?
All right. Am I understanding this correctly? Is she talking about a soul who is still on this earth, or is she talking about someone in the spirit world who is sort of come to explain, for whatever reason, how they passed or what happened to them in their life? I'm a bit unclear about that. I think what I'm going to do is, I think because, time is of the essence here. When we connect with other souls, whether they are here on this earth or when they are in the spirit world, when they connect with us, sometimes we have souls who connect with our soul for whatever reason, and there are a variety of different reasons why that happens. But when a soul touches our soul, it's very special, and it can be very beautiful. It can also be very devastating if you feel that that person is in need. What you do is what we do every morning for our, healing.
Rosemary, sorry, he clarified the person is still on Earth.
Right. So what we do, that's what I thought. But either way, whether we connect with a soul in the spirit world or whether we connect with a soul who is still on this earth, what we do, because we can't travel all over the world to go rescue someone, to go save someone. And, when a soul in need or a soul is crying out or calling out for help, and we hear that, or our soul hears that, and we connect with that, there is only one thing that we can do, but it's a very powerful thing that we can do. It's a very positive thing that we can do. We can simply send out our healing prayers. Remember, every 11 o'clock every morning, wherever you are in the world, 11 a.m., wherever you are in the world, we have a healing minute. I like to say it's sort of hands around the world, healing around the world, and we join hands around the world, and we only take 1 minute, sometimes less, to send out our healing love and our healing energy and our healing prayers to all of those out there. We send out our prayers and our love and our energy into the universe. We send out to God. And so every Thursday morning, if you want to join in with me, we do a Thursday morning on Facebook. We do a Facebook every Thursday morning at about 10 minutes to 11, just before we come live on YouTube. And people join with me, hands around the world. Remember at the end of your prayer to always say, no matter how much you think that you might know what somebody needs, even if it's someone you love and dear God, take the tumor away. Dear God, make this person better. Dear God, take this away or that away. Make them healthy. Please don't do that, because God knows what is right for all of us. So at the end of your prayer, you mention the name of the person, you explain, or if you feel, as in this case, you felt something going on here, you say, dear God, I the healer, you're sending out healing prayers. So in that moment, you are a healer. Dear God, I will to thy will. So we always hand the issue and hand the problem over to God. And I think we briefly touched on this last week, how when you have an issue, and I've done this on a couple of occasions. I did this when my daughter was very, very ill and in intensive care. And I looked at her and I knew that aside from being there and holding her hand and sending my healing energy, there was really nothing I could do. Sometimes there are traumas in your life that are so great, you literally do have to hand them over to God. And so literally you hand it over. God, this is too big for me. I'm not capable of this. I'm handing it over to you. And this is what I'm going to suggest that you do when you feel those things and you sense those things that you don't know what to do with. You hand it over to God. Here is the trick. When you hand something over to God, that means you've got to step back and not interfere. And that's tough. That's hard. But if you have an issue that's too big for you, hand it over to God. Leave it alone and hand it over to God. Let God decide. Carolyn, do you have a question?
Margareta would like to know, do
Morning,
husbands
Margareta.
or lovers who cross over, or does anybody, abide by the morals of loyalty and fidelity to their loved ones left behind? So in other words, can they have affairs?
In the spirit world?
Yes.
I have no idea. I'm asking Grey Eagle, and no, because I think you're dealing with different issues. You're dealing with issues that are connected to the spiritual as opposed to the human. Margareta, you need to understand, he loves you. Let it go. He loves you. Just be satisfied. Stop worrying. Stop worrying about where he is, what he's going to be doing. He's going to be waiting for you when you come.
Rochelle says, duly noted. Thank you so deeply.
You're welcome. Al?
Luciana wants to know how you're feeling with your backache.
Oh, Luciana, thank you. Thank you. It hurts. sitting here reeling about on this cushion. I know that when I get up, because I've been sitting in one position for so long, it's going to hurt me, but it's much better. Thank you so much, and thank you all of you for your healing. I really do appreciate it. Let's have another question.
Well, actually, Mitchell has a request.
Yay!
I always love your wonderful stories about spiritual healing. Can you share another one with us?
What now?
Yes. Wrap up the show.
I can't think. Can you think?
I'm trying to
You know,
think.
Well, let me think. I'm thinking of something that I've written in the book that I can share with you. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little tidbit, a little teaser for the new book, which is really horrible of me. All right. The book was finished. It wasn't edited properly. We got it sent back, and oh my goodness, it was a bit of a mess. So we've been working on that. We're almost finished. In fact, we were finished to the point where we were going to send it back again, and yay, it was done until another story popped up. My daughter and her husband lost a very, very dear friend, very close friend of theirs, who lived in Mexico. So my daughter's husband went off to Mexico and spent some time, a week actually, only spent a week, because this young man was given less than 2 weeks to live at this point. So my son-in-law went out there to spend some time with him with other friends. And so my grandson and my daughter was making my grandson some dinner. And she said to Reese, shall we watch a movie while we're having dinner? So you choose the movie. So he chose a movie which he's not chosen in ages and ages and ages. And she was very surprised he'd chosen this particular movie because, we'd seen it like 2 years ago and it was. So anyway, so they're watching the movie and my grandson's watching the movie. My daughter's just about to bring dinner in for them both. They're going to sit and have, one of those TV dinner things that you do. Not that she buys TV dinners, but anyway. And all of a sudden, my grandson starts to shout, "Mama, Mama, quick, you've got to come, quick, Mama, Mama, we've got to call Daddy, we've got to call Daddy now, we've got to call Daddy now." At this point, the friend that my son-in-law gone to see had died the day before. So, I'm not going to tell you all the details, but I will tell you, my grandson is just one of these amazing people. And he's a little explosion, I think, waiting to happen. And he said to his mum, "We've got to call Daddy right away. And told my daughter something that had happened on this movie that totally and absolutely connected with the friend, and which made no sense to Samantha, and it made no sense to Reese, except he knew he had to let Daddy know. So they called Daddy straight away, and Daddy didn't know what he was talking about. So a couple of hours later, my son-in-law called my daughter to say, we were all sitting around, a few of us chatting, and he said, I told them what Reese had said. And one of the friends there, who's very, very close to this, his name is John, one of the very close friends of John, said, "Oh my God, that's so weird." And somehow or another, John was able to come through my grandson to let them all know that he was really there and he was okay. I know this is a convoluted and very weird story, and it probably won't make any sense to you, so you're going to have to wait for the end of that. So I'm actually just working on the finishing touches of that story. Then the book will be out there, and then it will be there. You will go. So Mitchell, that's not the story you wanted. I'm sorry, it's not the story you wanted, but that's all I could think of at the spur of the moment. All right, so a special thanks to Mitchell. Lovely to have you all the way from Australia.
And he says, that's an amazing encounter. Thank you for the teaser. I'm looking forward to reading the new book.
You're welcome. So thank you for joining us, darling. And I'll call you later. We'll figure out when Mitchell is going to come on and be a guest on the sofa. And thank you very much to Carolyn. Thank you, of course, to Grey Eagle. Thank you, Al, very much for joining us. I know it's been difficult for you because Al had a big move this weekend, right? Last weekend, and something backfired on you a little bit. But anyway, so thank you for making the time and the effort to join us today. So we shall see you next week. If you do need any more information, you can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, on all those things. Just so I'm clear, I'm having so many people on Messenger. Now, as much as I love you all, please don't expect me to answer everybody because I've no idea. You know, I'm not technical minded. It's not that I don't love you, and it's not that I'm not listening. It's not that I'm not paying attention. It's just don't know what to do with you all. So you know, please be patient with me. Just understand that I'm not a techie in any way, shape or form. I am going to get hopefully a little techie through Al at some point to help me with this stuff. In the meantime, if you need to know anything else about us, anything more about my work, anything more about, you know, anything to do with the spiritual world, email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. We will answer you the best way we can. Please subscribe, get your friends to subscribe. The more people we have subscribing on YouTube, the more we'll be able to do, and the more YouTube shows we'll have. I'm actually thinking of putting out another YouTube show on another night for all of you who can't make it live during the day. Maybe we'll have an evening YouTube show as well for those of you who could like to tune in then. Anyway, we'll talk about that at another time. That's just off the top of my head. Email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. And in the meantime, until I see you next week, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Please, 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 please. And Grey Eagle says too. Have a very, very, very blessed day. And I've now got to find that. There it is, that little white thing right there.